Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganastadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyananda, I welcome all of the viewers on this most auspicious Ganesha Chaturthi and wish each and every one of you, as we are celebrating until the night goes, the auspicious day of Ganesha's happening for all of us, the most celebrated God. We had a most beautiful darshan of Bhagavan tonight, and each and every one of us was able to experience power manifesting, experiencing Ganesha, one of the most beautiful gifts that Swamiji gives us, to not just celebrate, but to experience Ganesha himself. But tonight, we would like to also remind each and every one of us that we cannot just end at celebration, celebrating, appreciating our culture, our gods and goddesses, and experiencing. We must also know what is going on behind the curtain. What is going on, what many of us have not awakened ourselves to. Tonight, some of us would like to make us question the very important questions that each and every one of us have to wake up to today. Let's first see a brief video of what we're going to go over tonight.
What if the headlines you're reading are all a part of a script, a dangerous, repeated script to take down Hinduism? First, they came for the gurus, Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. 15 years of trials, 0 convictions, 0 victims. And now they're coming for Dharmasthala, the same playbook, sensational claims, a media circus, and curiously, 0 actual victims. It's not journalism, it's a conspiracy. And the goal is clear: dismantle Hindu faith, propagate Hindu phobia. Tonight, live, we break down the playbook. We connect the dots from the UN reported persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to the shocking attacks on Dharmasthala. Who is behind this? Why are they so afraid of Hindu revival? Don't just watch the news. Understand.
Yes, each and every one of us must understand the truth about what's going on right now. Today, we have been so blessed to be able to celebrate Ganesha Chaturthi. But while we celebrate, let's also use that spiritual strength to stand for Hinduism. And now is more crucial time than ever. Dharmasthala is an 800-year-old Hindu heritage, an indigenous Hindu kingdom that stands as one of the strongest backbone of the state of Karnataka today. If you ask anyone from the state, they will always tell you Dharmasthala is their home, is their spiritual backbone. If anyone enters there, they sing an appreciation of the profound spiritual energy there. Dharmasthala has not only been a center of spiritual strength, of interfaith confluence, peaceful coexistence between different communities of Hinduism, but also immense contribution to the entire state of Karnataka and beyond that. Dharmasthala has over 7.5 million visitors a year, and it continuously serves massive annadan. It is one of the largest institutions in Karnataka, and it being such an old institution, it is also a model ecosystem for Hindus, even until the modern Hindu gurus, until even the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who had established Adi Kailasa in Karnataka from 2000, had also seen and studied Dharmasthala as an ecosystem, a model ecosystem of Hindu heritage and everything that we celebrate in Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, of course, has had a long-standing diplomatic relation with the Dharmasthala institution. As you can see here, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism greets in a grand Kumbh Mela celebration of South India, Sri Virendra Hegde, the administration of Dharmasthala, who is until today the current administration of Dharmasthala. This picture showcases the long-standing relationship between Kailasa and Dharmasthala. We also celebrate our relationship even today, as representatives of Kailasa have shown their support, as guided by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, have gone to Dharmasthala, met in a personal meeting with Sri Virendra Hegde, had been able to convey their support, convey the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's blessings and the Kailasa's support of Dharmasthala, as today we find it undergoing one of the worst attacks, targeted attacks against Hinduism itself. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was the first to be outspoken about the support of Dharmasthala, and Kailasa has been the first to support Dharmasthala in this extremely crucial time. Now, while as we are here today and understanding this, many Hindus all over the world still don't know, have not opened their eyes to what happened over the last almost 2 months. From being known as as the oldest Hindu heritage and one of the most influential, strongest institutions in the state of Karnataka, Dharmasthala had been the target of Hindu-phobic media, defamatory media brigade. Thousands of hours of hateful media coverage have painted Dharmasthala as a burial site of alleged sexual crimes and murders. But these headlines are just in order to provoke the religious sentiments of Hindus worldwide and to spread mass hatred against Hinduism and continue what is an ongoing Hindu genocide. Let's go over first the timeline of what happened in Dharmasthala since June 22nd, 2025. We have our panelists here today who will all be presenting how this genocide has been ongoing for more than 700 years and how history is repeating itself. I now invite Ma Vijaypriya to take us through the timeline of the entire conspiracy against Dharmasthala.
Yes, thank you very much, Ma Nitya Sadashvapriya, and also for the reminder, of the amount of humanitarian service that Dharmasthala has done for humanity, to the people of Karnataka for centuries, but still it is being attacked in a very systematic way. And for us to understand this persecution on Dharmasthala, which is not just a persecution on one Hindu temple, but it is a persecution, ethnocide and genocide on the entire Hindu civilization. So for us to understand this at a deeper level, we do need to understand how this all started. What is the various ways, techniques that these anti-Hindu mafias have used in order to defame an 800-year-old Hindu institution. And then, we'll be able to see how the same system is being used across all Hindu institutions. So, yes, so as you've mentioned, it all started in June 22nd, where the lawyers of the so-called whistleblower had, representing the whistleblower, so-called whistleblower, had released a letter to the media claiming that their client can reveal the locations of buried bodies of women and girls in Dharmasthala. And so on July 3rd, a formal complaint was filed. Without any evidence, without any actual proof, a formal complaint was filed. And this 48-year-old, he was a former sanitation worker at Dharmasthala and who was later identified as CN Chinnaya. So he formally files a complaint with the police, and he also seeks witness protection. And he claimed that he was coerced to bury hundreds of bodies between 1995 and 2014. And so July 4th, the police registered the case, and just based on his complaint on this so-called whistleblower, and the complaint was filed against the temple authorities, which marked the beginning of this legal investigation, lawfare, and defamation on Dharmasthala. And therefore, July 10, Chinnaya receives official police protection. He was granted police protection as a key witness. And on July 11, Chinnaya records a detailed statement before the magistrate in the closed court, and he submits, ironically, he submits a human skull and the bones, which he claimed to have exhumed from one of the alleged burial sites. But the irony here is that they dubbed 17 sites, but at none of them they found the remains of women and girls, as this so-called whistleblower had claimed. And whatever few bones that they had found was that of a man who had died 30 years ago. So which is basically outside the timeline that he mentioned, 1994 to 2014. And now there's another character in this whole fabrication, and his name is Samir MD, and he's a YouTuber. And so he basically started this whole media witch hunt, where he also fabricated videos with the help of AI, alleging that Dharmasthala had, that there are burial sites at Dharmasthala. But later on, this YouTuber, this Samir MD YouTuber, was also arrested by the police for spreading false defamatory information and also inciting mob violence. Yes, and here we can see in July 18, a gag order was issued. The Bengaluru court issued this gag order to prevent the media outlets from publishing this defamatory content related to the case. And after that, the next day, following public pressure, the Karnataka government formed the SIT, the High-Level Special Investigation Team, to take over the investigation that was headed by DGP Pranab Mohanty.
Yes, and here starts the special investigation team begins a large-scale excavation of over a dozen sites identified by this complainant, and the vast majority of these sites yield no human remains. There's absolutely no evidence, no human remains found in how many? 17 sites. And then the first remain was discovered. The special investigation team recovers a human skull and a partial skeleton from 2 different sites. Forensic analysis later proves these remains are not of recent victims, casting doubt on the complainant's claims. So till now, there is no evidence. And here we can see by then the media just goes crazy. How an Indian temple town is at the center of hundreds of alleged murders. They just carefully use the word alleged, but they convey what they need to convey. As we continue to see, the Samir MD, who is belongs to a Muslim terrorist group, is granted bail. A Mangaluru court grants anticipatory bail to YouTuber Samir MD. And then the complainant confesses that after extensive questioning and the discovery of fabricated evidence, the special investigation team arrests the complainant C.N. Chinnaya on charges of forgery. Then he confesses to lying and being a pawn who was paid to make these allegations. Now his ex-wife speaks out, saying that C.N. Chinnaya, ex-wife, comes forward and publicly states that he is a habitual liar and suspects he fabricated his story for money. You see the ridiculousness of this whole entire story.
Yes, and let us take a deeper dive into the ridiculousness that we see in Dharmasthala case, but that was there 15 years ago in the false cases against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, Bhagavan, Nithyananda, Paramashivam. It is uncanny and is literally like deja vu to see the same playbook, the same pattern of false cases, the same pattern of using the machinery of the authorities and leading them on a wild goose chase to find nothing. So let's take a side-by-side comparison and see what the truth reveals. So what we see in the Dharmasthala case is a rampant national anti-Hindu, Hindu music media campaign. In the case against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, we have 17,000 hours of hateful content broadcasted across all medias and over 25,000 print medias of this hateful, defamatory campaign against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. All completely lies. So it starts with the media riling up, creating all these falsehoods and lies and spinning these wild details, increasing their TRP. Then comes the complaint, the bombshell complaint. But when you look deeper and we actually look at these complaints, in the case of Dharmasthala, there was not a single evidence to initiate any kind of investigation, let alone any crime. And when you look at the so-called complaint, FIR, and in the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, there is not only no evidence, there's no victim, and there's absolutely no mention of any crime. But as absurd as it sounds to any person with a rational mind, anyone believes in common sense, let alone justice, this happened. And it happened 15 years ago, and it happened again today. Now let's look at once the authorities were put into motion, the SIT excavated 17 burial sites. This is not just a number 17. How many manpower, how much resources, officers, people digging, destroying the properties, stopping the services happened in this excavation campaign to find these so-called mass burial sites, which didn't exist. Then if you look back at the case against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the police raided the Adinam, they confiscated archives, valuable materials, they froze bank accounts, they planted evidence, they literally were looking for something to register a crime. They even looked for victims. They advertised on Facebook, they went all over social media. They said, if you are a victim, we will pay you, please come forward. Not a single person came forward. In the same way, in the Dharmasthala case, they dig up all over Karnataka, around the Dharmasthala area, and they didn't find a shred of actual burial of mass murder evidence. They tried, but they failed. In the same way, if you just go back to this, the previous slide, in the same way they failed in the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, they did everything to look for victims. They failed in their attempts to do that, and the same false allegations were made in the United States of America, and the SPH was proven innocent on all regards, and the perpetrators, just like the perpetrators are coming out and being booked for their lies in the Dharmasthala case, the perpetrators in the U.S., the same perpetrators who made the cases in India, made the cases in the U.S., and they have been, there's bench warrants for their arrest. They were put in jail. They were deported from the U.S., and there's over $1 million against them for all of the crimes that they did. And we can go to this video. Just shows the level of abuse that happened to the Hindu monks and sannyasis of the Sovereign Order of KAILASA's Nithyananda, who were just defending the rights of Hindus and defending. Okay. Now we continue to more of these atrocious happenings that happened. We're seeing now, and everyone's getting upset about it because it is upsetting and it should not happen. But the same thing happened in a much larger scale, in a much bigger way over 15 years ago. And we see the complainant's ex-wife says that this Chinnaya is a habitual liar. And in the matter of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the false complainant's medical tests show she has multiple STDs, and the medical test of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism shows that he has 0 STDs, and anyone who comes in contact with this false victim would simply have this disease. It's impossible they would not have the STDs because she was so contagious. And her medical reports show that she was sitting in the US in her doctor's office when actually she was claiming to be in India, saying that she was raped. Her medical results not only showed it was medically impossible for her claims to happen, and this is backed by over 9 doctors, reputable doctors across the world, US, Canada, and India, who all said her claims are completely bogus. And even the psychological examination of the complainant's, the false victim's statements show that she's a pathological liar. So the same thing happened over 15 years ago, happening again today.
Thank you, Ma, for that really raw comparison of the Dharmasthala, the conspiracy that's going on against Dharmasthala, and the persecution that happened against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The astonishing thing is that they think we'll forget. They think we don't see the pattern that is obviously repeating itself. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism underwent illegal arrests, torture. It all is documented by the UN. And after that, still no media coverage, a complete media blackout on the exonerations. We have to ask ourselves, why are only Hindu leaders and Hindu institutions undergoing such blatant attacks?
And I just wanted to, thank you so much, Sadashina Priya. I wanted to close out with one more comparison, which just says it all. Yes. We can and actually go to the next slide. We covered this one. If you look at by all accounts of this persecution, one of the things that stands out, which gets the public going, is this masked complainant. He's wearing a mask and he's making these insane, unbelievable allegations, but because it creates some sort of interest of who is this, what is this mystery? It's almost like a movie you're watching, and that sells. The same thing happened over 15 years ago with a false victim. When she filed her complaint, there was no name. She was an anonymous complainant. She did not even sign her complaint. And actually, as per the laws of India, she was not even a victim. She was a witness. And she wore the same mask. We can show that image because it shows just how we let the media take control of the story and add all these theatrics to get the viewership going. But in the end, who is suffering? It is the Hindus, the Hindu leaders, the Hindu institutions that are paying the price for us falling for this crap, sorry to say, and a lot of other words, and letting it go on the media and going unchecked. And unfortunately, this cheap kind of display of falsifying, making up stories is happening again today. You think that as a society we would have advanced, but it's the same playbook, it's the same pattern of lies, the same concocting of stories just to bring down our Hindu institutions like Dharmasthala. They attempted to do, they failed. Just like trying to bring down Hindu leaders, the reviver of literally the Hindu civilization, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, attempting to bring him down and all of his institutions across the US, across India, but they failed because finally, as we're seeing, despite all of this madness, the truth does prevail if we stand for it.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly. First it was Swamiji. It was a 15-year witch hunt with absolutely zero victims. And today, the sacred heritage of Dharmasthala. When will we bring a stop to this? And why do we feel so powerless to stand up? It is only the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism who is giving a platform where we each can bring out our voice. It is only the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism who is even giving the victims voices, victims of persecution voices in international platforms so that real justice can be served. If today you feel that such a crime has been happening against Hinduism, you have a chance now to educate yourself, understand what is really going on against Hinduism, against Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And just because Swamiji is sticking Swamiji's neck out for all of us, how much Swamiji is going through. If today you feel even an ounce that you have to do something, you have a chance now. I invite anyone who is watching right now to go to this link and sign up to sign a petition to recognize Kailasa, stand for Kailasa, and to be a part of the solution. As Ma Nithyananda had beautifully said, it is only Kailasa that is standing for a solution, a wholesome solution for everything that Hinduism is going for. You can stand now for supporting Dharmasthala, for supporting Kailasa, and for protecting Sanatana Hindu Dharma. It is time now that we Hindus stop turning a blind eye to the persecution that is ongoing. We have to take a strong stand and be powerful warriors about what's going on. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has not only been undergoing, first of all, torture in the hands of Hindu-phobic elements himself, but surviving all of this, and after that, bringing us all to the point of actually having a nation for ourselves. How did this journey happen is literally the revival of Kailasa. We wanted to educate the viewers about what exactly happened, some of the details of what has been happening on against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. It started in 2009 and it lasted for more than 15 years. And now Ma Vijaypriya will be describing those details to each and every one of us.
Yes, thank you so much, Ma Sadashivapriya. See, this whole persecution on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Arti Bharadwaj, on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism by Arti Rao and Vinay Bharadwaj, as you said, it started in 2009, and they planted the seed for the persecution on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And so, as we can see here, this lady, Arti Rao, she claimed that, Swamiji, who is a monk, who is a celibate from the age of 3, she claims that he had many relationships with women. So basically, Vinay Bharadwaj tried to get a false rape victim, and he asked Arti Rao if she had any such experiences, and Arti Rao was very clear. In writing, she was very clear that she had no knowledge about any of these things. And you can see here, this is a written, this is the email conversation that was also submitted in court, where she clearly stated that no such thing had ever happened. And so then they basically fabricated a fake video, a deep fake video, Arti Rao and Vinay Bharadwaj, to try to frame the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And this was basically what started as this deep fake video became a 15-year persecution on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. However, even the COO of this Sun TV, who basically,
Sun TV, the CEO of the Sun TV confessed that the deepfake video was in fact a fake, and it was a practice of Sun TV to release such fake news and fake videos, and it's a practice to extort people before releasing these false news to get money out of people. So this was an affidavit, a statement given under perjury to basically to the US federal courts. And this is evidence showing that the truth, again, once it's put to the test in the justice system in the US, the truth came out of the false, the extortion and the fake, deepfake video that was released.
Sun TV
Yes, and in 2010, on April 21st, 2010, this is when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was arrested, illegally arrested for the first time. He was jailed illegally for 51 days. He was jailed for 51 days without any victim. And the media actually claimed that, there were over 100 rape victims, but none of them came forward. There was not a single so-called victim that came forward. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism of 2 billion Hindus was in jail for 51 days illegally. And you can see here, this is Bengaluru Adinam, Adi Kailash, the hut where Swamiji was staying. This was put on fire with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism inside. And so shamelessly, the TV reporters are filming this whole scene. Not a single help was sent to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. They tried to assassinate him. There's been over 100 assassination attempts on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism just because he revived Sanatan Hindu Dharma. He revived KAILASA, the only Hindu nation. To the
Vijay, I just wanted to add this telling photo. The media, not only are they literally they're attempting to exploit this situation, someone is literally being burned alive and they're letting it happen. And what's not seen here is that this media showed up before the fire started, before the mob attack started, because they were tipped off. They were working hand in hand with the fake mobs, with all of these fake rioters, the paid mobs, and that's how they created the news. They fabricated the news. There was actually no mob. No one was angry, but they were paid by the media to appear to be like they were upset or had grievances. Nothing like that was actually the case. And this just shows the role the media has when unchecked, the damage that they can do.
Yes. And see, one point also I would like to add. See, just like how 15 years ago, no one stood for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism when he was being attacked and he was being tortured in jail. And because nobody stood for the ecclesiastical head of the 2 billion Hindus, now we are also seeing that the history is repeating itself now. In the case of Dharmasthala, an 800-year-old Hindu institution is allowed to be defamed. Just like that. It didn't require much. Just one false allegation from a sanitation worker, and who is not even from the Hindu faith, and without any evidence, he's just able to put any kind of allegation on an 800-year-old institution, and nobody is speaking out. It was the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism who spoke out the first on this injustice on Hindus. And so if we Hindus, we continue to remain silent, we continue to remain criminally negligent, this is going to keep repeating. Yesterday it was Sabarimala. Tomorrow again, now it's going to be the Ayodhya Ram Mandir, for which we fought for over 500 years to rebuild the temple. Yes,
no, this shows the state of Hindu organizations, Hindu gurus, where we are. I mean, what happened 15 years ago? It is not an isolated incident. What happens now is not an isolated incident. There are multiple incidents of gurus, multiple temples that we see being attacked this way. But the thing is, there is completely observed. There is no evidence, no witness, no victims, but they are able to pull this off. Shows the poor state of Hindu organizations, Hindu temples, Hindu gurus, Hindu leaders, and nobody to question. But we are able to spend so much of time, so much of energy, so much of manpower into investigating. This is just ridiculous. And this is horrific, the state of Hindus today. Now, exactly what happened to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism 15 years ago, when there was no evidence, no victims, no witness, no nothing. But the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was illegally arrested for 53 days. And even when he was released, his freedom of speech was taken. where is human rights? Where is human rights for Hindus, Hindu leaders, Hindu temples? How long are we going to tolerate this? See, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived Kailasa nation. Why? People ask, why another Hindu nation? No, there is no another Hindu nation. This is the only Hindu nation. Hindus have to wake up to this fact that there is no other Hindu nation. Kailasa is the only Hindu nation the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived, because there is no protection for Hindus. There is no protection for Hindu temples, Hindu leaders, Hindu organizations. From where we were, from Hindu temples run government to government run Hindu temples. That is the situation where we are now, where when our people, our leaders, our temples, our gurus, when they are attacked, we are just watching it. When the media runs the riot, when any person, the fellow is not even a Hindu, when they are able to make claims, a Muslim is able to run a YouTube, a YouTuber is able to pull off such a stunt, where people just watch and wait. And one by one, we see that our temples and our spiritual leaders, our Hindu gurus, are being targeted, and we just watch. This is the sad truth, and this is exactly the reason why Swamiji has revived Kailasa as the only nation with the political legitimacy for Hindus, as the only refuge for Hindus. And Hindus have to wake up to this fact that Hindus are not safe. This is exactly the situation that we had witnessed, we had suffered, we have gone through 15 years ago, where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, for 17,000 hours of nonsense deepfake videos that they aired throughout the world to attack, to eliminate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, just because he was reviving Hinduism. And here we see an 800-year-old organization, a temple, 21 generations of people have sustained this temple, the tradition, a great example for multiple organizations and Sampradayas in Karnataka. Such great temple has been attacked by a ridiculous claim, where you are able to, the state-led government is able to spend so much of money, effort, time for 17 sites, which is still undigestible. I can understand if it is one site, you can understand by the second site, but you will go on to 17 sites to realize, oh, this man is lying. And the ex-wife is able to come and casually say that he's a habitual liar. Really, where does this end? And the worst part on all of this is Hindus just watch. You think somebody else is getting attacked? No, it is not somebody else. It is coming close to your home. Wherever you are, it is affecting your tradition. It is going to be next will be your temple, your organization, your people. And Hindus have to wake up to this.
And also, just to add what you're saying, Ma Pramatma, just like how now these anti-Hindu terrorists, Islamic terrorists, are able to just put any kind of false allegations on an 800-year-old Hindu temple, and this is what they've been doing, right, for ages. And now, if you look at the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as well, the police published on the newspaper calling out for victims. If you can see here this newspaper clipping, you will see how the police so shamelessly is calling out for false rape victims on paper. Paisa feko and tamasha deko, basically, literally, saying that whoever comes as a victim, false victim, they will be paid money. And the media also claimed that the police had hundreds of witnesses, and the police just desperately kept inviting people to become witnesses, but not a single woman, not a single person came forward. And
what's very
just
interesting,
yes,
sorry, you can go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, just like how 15 years ago, so shamelessly, such an accusation was able to be made on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, on newspaper. And nobody stood for him, for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism of 2 billion Hindus. I think this needs to be ingrained into us, into our brain, so we can actually cognize what is happening here. The leader, spiritual leader of 2 billion Hindus, the third largest religion.
Yes.
How is it possible that just like that any kind of false allegation is able to be made? And because nobody stood, again now this false allegation on the Supreme on Dharmasthala is happening.
Unfortunately, Hindus don't know the truth about what happened, about what exactly the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had been through. If they did, literally, our hearts would be just simply shattered to pieces. Even in the article that you had just projected, Mad, you can see the court is asking, how long can you torture anyone like this mentally? They were asking the police, how long can you do this? The court has zero power over the people who are behind this. So I want to ask, who is actually behind this? If the judiciary has zero power over what it is doing, a court order that is sustained in court has zero power to stop media defamation or to do anything. Why? Then what kind of government is running? What kind of laws are running? Everything is literally up in the air, and the only thing that can run is the Hindu-phobic narrative. We have to question very seriously who is behind this, and we have to expose them one by one. I also want to bring out the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had literally been through so much in illegal imprisonment, had been through, even at one point, had been through a serious case of symptoms having cardiac arrest. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was even rushed to the Jayadeva hospital. But if you, at that single time, not knowing anything, not knowing what's going to happen next, being denied by the police a chance to recover and going to the hospital, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism only thought of each and every one of his devotees. His only words were, if I die, please give my body back to my devotees. I am a sannyasi. My body must have the last rites as per sannyas customs. Even at that point, Swamiji is only thinking about the devotees, each and every one of us. And each and every one of us, millions across the world who have been transformed by Swamiji, who have been literally touched, our lives transformed and never to turn back. But at that moment, were each and every one of us aware of what's going on? At that moment, did we do justice to what happened to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism? Are we standing at all, even at all to a bit, even just for a second, did we think about how much the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is sacrificing day in and day out to make this nation happen for us? If you, even for a moment, think about this, then you must realize that you have a responsibility. Each and every one of us are responsible for what is going on against Hinduism. One being can in no possible way do an entire revival. Each and every one of us has to stand up. I urge each and every one of the viewers to stand up today and sign a petition to support Kailasa and to support Dharmasthala. And at least in this one way, which you can do wherever you are, it's the easiest thing to do, to just sign your name on this petition and stand and support Kailasa today. This simple signature can be brought out in so many ways. You will have no idea how much this can help, how much a simple signature supporting Kailasa and supporting Dharmasthala will do. And for each and every one of you as well, we have to educate ourselves. We have to read and understand the facts of what is going on, what has been happening over the last 15 years of persecution and Swamiji's contributions to the world. I invite each and every one of the viewers also to read all of the reports published by the United Nations, where you can see and read and understand for yourself the truth and what Swamiji has done, has sacrificed to voice the persecution on international platforms for the whole global audience to understand. And so we can bring an end to this persecution and finally see Hindus have a home, have a safe haven to practice Hinduism. This is a predictable playbook that the Hindu-phobic conspirators have been continuously working against Hinduism, Hindu leaders, and Hindu institutions.
Yes.
What we see here, yes, when we are criminally negligent, when we Hindus are criminally negligent and let this persecution, malicious prosecution, persecution at all levels happen to our Hindu institutions, our Hindu gurus, and just stand by and watch the deep state, the invested media goes haywire, and 600 policemen are sent to investigate what? An FIR that doesn't have a victim? An FIR that doesn't even have a crime mentioned? Why is the state spending millions of dollars? Who is funding them? And the same way we see now with the Dharmasthala case, who is supporting, who is behind these lies that are causing the whole machinery of a state to excavate 17 sites? How much manpower was spent, or was used, and how much millions of rupees was used to do this so blatantly in front of the whole nation, making a mockery?
And it's not just
Believe
a government
policemen, 600 policemen to investigate a sannyasi. That much of manpower and funds, money the government is able to spend on an investigation which is baseless, where there is criminals running riot on the country, there's no one to bother, but to investigate a sannyasi, 600 policemen were sent. This is to the level of ridiculousness and the danger that the Hindus are in.
And yes, and I just want to also add, see, as you've mentioned, 600 policemen to investigate one Hindu sannyasi who's only been contributing for, he has given free education. Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, has offered free education to 20 million people globally. He has established thousands of ecosystems, over 16,000 ecosystems. Swamiji has 16,000 ecosystems Swamiji has established around the globe. And continuously Annadan is happening non-stop globally. More than 1 billion people has been fed free meals globally. And even during the COVID-19, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism converted all of his monasteries in Asia into multi-layered quarantine centers where anybody, not just people from the Hindu faith, anybody could come and stay and quarantine themselves, and they did not have to pay for anything. Everything was provided free of cost, whether be it food, healthcare, medicine, various programs to keep them mentally fit, yoga, meditation, even free internet was given to them so that they could continue their work while they are staying inside the monasteries of Kailasa. They were not even expected to contribute anything. They were just required to be there, be safe, and be alive. And there was not a single case of COVID-19, and there was not a single death from COVID-19. And even the United Nations has acknowledged the contributions of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in multiple of the reports. Such a being who is only contributing 600 policemen was deployed, and 3 crore was spent in just 3 hours to deploy these 600 policemen. And despite all the persecution that the Supreme Pontiff has been going through, and see, we say persecution, but we have to understand what it means. When the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was illegally imprisoned for more than 50 days, he was tortured. He was not given even food. He was not allowed to be given food. The police tried to feed him with beef. They tried to force feed the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with beef. He was not allowed to sleep. He was not allowed to do puja. He was not allowed to do the Shiva puja, which is the as Mahamandareshwar of the Madurai Adinam, that has been an unbroken ritual for the last recorded 4,000 years. He was not allowed to perform the rituals as the Mahamandareshwar of the Madurai Adinam. 4,000 years of record. Yes, Ma Prematma, I believe you were trying to say something.
Yes, Ma. See, the services done by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is immense, tremendous. But what you were just sharing about the illegal arrest and the torture is not because the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was a criminal, but because he was reviving Hinduism. That was the fault, and he was not giving up. He was standing, he was unapologetically Hindu, and he was not going to back off in reviving that ancient enlightened civilization, which was, almost in extinction. To prevent that, to revive that, because the Supreme Pontiff had taken it up, he was being targeted, attacked, and so much of money, so much of resources spent to eliminate him. Nearly 100 murder attempts on the Supreme, assassination attempts on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and all types of media affair, lawfare, everything launched to attack one individual just to make him stop. But of course he has not, and he has revived Kailasa, the only Hindu nation, giving the political legitimacy for Hindus and giving a safe haven and refuge for Hindus. So we can practice Hinduism, authentically, without being attacked, without being, illegally persecuted, as we can see, day to day, every news, everywhere we can see Hindus are attacked, murdered, and to the level that we can see horrible attacks that we are going through. And the only haven, safe haven for Hindus, and the only land which has the political legitimacy for Hindus is Kailasa, that was revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for the sake of Hindu. So what we are sharing today is the services, the comparison that we can see of the, without any basis for human rights, where the individuals are attacked, the Hindu leaders are attacked, without a legal system to protect them, to question as to why, because we run with the anti-Hindu media mafia. This is obviously a conspiracy, but at least Hindus need to wake up to this. And if you want to take action, of course, sign the petition. Sign a petition to stand for Hinduism, to stand for Dharmasthala, to stand for Kailasa.
Each and every one of us must understand and realize that we all have to take responsibility for making sure that our next generation is enjoying Hinduism how we did, and history does not repeat itself. With this, each and every one of us would like to offer our deep gratitude to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for reviving Kailasa for each and every one of us, protecting Sanatana Hindu Dharma, and being on the forefront of this battle for our conscious sovereignty. With this, we'll now conclude with the Pur Mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavat Shri Nithyananda Paramashiva Padukarpanamastu. Om Nithyanandam.